Hi, I am Nicole, a licensed attorney, and I am so ready for the mess. I'm going to do some legal analysis, and I'm going to talk about my favorite couple of the hour, TJ Holmes and Amy Robach. They have outdone themselves now, and seriously, I think they need to be reeled in. So stay tuned for the rest of my video, and please comment, subscribe, like my channel, and drop a comment if you want me to talk about anything legally and how it affects. So stay tuned. I'll be back with some hot commentary. It wouldn't be the American way if after grievance, discipline, or wrongdoing by parties, if they didn't sue, especially when they cause a TV network to pull out monies to investigate harm that could have caused or arisen because of their actions. So on Friday, it was released in media outlets that TJ Holmes and Amy Robach lawyered up. So let me read you what was said in the article. Sources said that Robach had hired Andrew Bretler, a prominent Los Angeles lawyer, while Holmes hired Eric George, another lawyer who handled several celebrity cases. TMZ reports the lawyers are ready to file a complaint if ABC keeps the pair off the air or fires them. The source adds that race could play a factor in the case of Holmes, who is black, and Robach, who is white. They told TMZ, has ABC ever used the morals or conduct clause to fire or discipline two consenting adults at equal levels when they were both white? Now, by the end of the video, I'm going to destroy that whole argument because I don't know what's going on. I keep saying this. People pay lawyers, and they're celebrity lawyers, and okay, the connect and what plays out, it's just interesting. So I hope they really lawyered up because of internal investigations. I always think that that is a good move. As you know, financial fraud is my passion. This is off subject. Hiring a lawyer will not stop you in 2023 from still being arrested, but it's a good move. And stay tuned for my next video where I address that whole issue when I break down another case. So let's discuss this false use of racial discrimination and why I believe it is career suicide. So, as my friend who is a trial attorney that has a winning record said, just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it can't be done. A lot of times people rely on how people used to move, and this is even courts, and then what happens in court, it can be a totally different outcome. While it's good to know history, it's also good to know that things can be different. So workplace romances are very common. So let's get into numbers because men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. So let's get into it. So in 2018, Career Builder stated that the office romance hit a 10-year low, but the numbers were still strong. 36% of workers reported dating a coworker. More men reported dating than women, which numbers were 37% of men, 35% of reporting females. Some of them were serial workplace daters. That's what I interpreted from the data, in which 1 in 5 men dated someone at work versus just 15% of females. Also, interestingly, only 22% have dated their boss. 31% ended up getting married, and 41% of workplace romancers kept their romance a secret, which is a good move. Finally, an earlier study after COVID, with remote jobs at its height, it was still happening. 25% of U.S. workers were engaged in a workplace romance during the pandemic or continued an existing one during the pandemic. So I did a series of TikToks and I will play them now, and then we will get into our legal analysis for those who may not have heard anything. You weren't caring about this until you clicked on my video. So stay tuned, and then we're going to talk about why it's a problem since the Me Too movement came about. So stay tuned. I'll be right back. Good night. Welcome to another Naked Legal Diary entry. So I am back and I am ready to discuss this sort of stale, getting off the news feed, TJ Holmes and Amy Robach scandal. It needs to be talked about. So about 2 weeks ago, the TJ Holmes and Amy Robach scandal broke. There were undeniable photos of their brazen affair, and once I saw those photos, I knew it was going to be like the proverbial law known as the slippery soap. Not so serious, but yet it was that serious. Those butt-grabbing photos were so hilarious. Since the Me Too movement and the bringing down of Harvey Weinstein, you cannot ignore those issues in the workplace. This wave has even brought down Governor Cuomo, of whom I loved, and not everyone may feel that way, but how he handled COVID, and he even seemed to win some fans across the country. But when it was revealed that he sexually harassed workers, it was curtains for him. This is despite him handling the situation well and signing off some legislation that would make a definite change and dent in New York. And his cabinet even handled it well. Once these women reported their sexual harassment stories, they were automatically removed from the environment, they were promoted, and they were taken seriously. So, while the executive at ABC stated that TJ Holmes did nothing wrong, essentially he did. He contaminated the workplace. Amy Robach is not his first romp in the workplace. In fact, he has an aficionado for the ladies, and I'm not saying he does look good. He looks good, and if he was single and he spits some game, I think I would give him a chance and go on a date with him. However, he was rumored to have a 3-year affair with an ABC producer, and this was as early as 2016, and it was uncovered due to emails. I hope after all is said and done that ABC gets a policy. I hope their legal staff implements a policy for several reasons that we're going to get into in part 2 of this TikTok. So do people smash in the workplace? Absolutely. I'm certain that at least 50% of people who've watched this video can remember, even if it was your first job as a teenager at McDonald's, that you probably were involved in a romance. Good night. Welcome to part 2 of TJ Holmes, Amy Robach, Scandal and Workplace Romances. So I left off by saying, do people smash in the workplace? Absolutely. However, as an employer, you have to protect your assets. The issue is not with people connecting or finding the love of their life. The issue really is that if these relationships are terminated, then others can bring sexual assault and retaliation claims. Furthermore, it can cause financial or / reputational harm, as the banking world would term it, to the persons from the outside. So it's not just nothing like people have been slinging it around like, what's the problem? No, there is a problem. So there are textbook examples of workplace romances that bottle up or unmask, and actually stock prices have dropped. So from the time the scandal broke, the lawyers at ABC probably have already begun to review the terms of the contracts. Right now I saw that it's under investigation and they're reviewing workplace policies and whatever. So with both of these characters, the main issue now that will be going on with the legal team at ABC and or outside counsel is how much do we have to pay to send them packing? And they are looking through those contracts to get them pushed out the door. It's possible that one may stay. I think it may be a possibility that one may stay, but they're going to pay them off because we know that these two have a contracts, and even though they can be terminated for any reason, there still has to be some level of protocol followed. So while most of the world wants to see them up there on that platform for gossipy purposes or whatever, don't feel bad for them. They're sitting home right now and they are being paid. Now, we don't know if they're being paid tomorrow, but they're being paid. So they're not really too down on their luck. I wish both of them nothing but the best. It doesn't take away. I'm just disappointed because they're losing their marriages. And after all that's said and done, your relationships matter. And it's sad for you to get to that point. You have to really be good, the best of the best, and to have some romp overshadow your career. So let's see if their chemistry will last after all is said and done. As my friend who's a trial attorney states, that has a winning record, just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it can't be done. CNN anchors had their own whirlwind drama going on. It just wasn't as popular as TJ Holmes and Amy Robach, and some would argue, based on what was posted online, that they never watched the show and never even knew of them until those Daily Mail photos made it pop the way it popped. So at 12 noon, the CNN executives had to conduct a video meeting about why the CNN president, Jeff Zucker, was removed. And based on what I saw when I was reading, he was loved. So Mr. Zucker resigned in the last week of January 2022 by failing to disclose a consensual romantic relationship with the marketing and communications chief. This move caused a shaking, as I was saying, because everyone loved Zucker and they were loyal to him. Furthermore, as I was talking about, there was a story that had come out last week about the McDonald's CEO. In 2019, the McDonald's CEO was fired. As a result, he gave false statements about being fired concerning his affair with an employee. The SEC turned around and fined him $400,000, and he is banned as being an officer and a director for 5 years. This is all due to him lying about his firing surrounding a workplace romance. Also, prior to this happening and it breaking last week Friday, he had to turn over his $105 million severance package. So in this case, it pays to tell the truth, and this is the extreme example of how workplace romances have been handled. So you can't even say I'm going back to 2017. You actually have to go back past 2017, and really I would say around 2018 for cases if you want to know what's the precedence, because things have changed and you can't even say stuff that's the truth, it's facts. You have to be careful, and there's certain things that can be revealed. You can't reveal everything, and sometimes people think because it's the truth they have a right to say it. But just because it's the truth does not mean that you have a right to say. And maybe in the future video, I'll break down what I mean by that, because I believe in being very upfront with people to a degree. I believe in being very authentic as much as possible and leaving no room for error about how a person feels, except for cases where you need to use wisdom. As a lawyer, you can't be revealing certain stuff or talking about your client. And there was a video I watched. in which another attorney was appalled, and I thought it was just me, where someone who is hired to not give out that business was giving out a person's business, and I'm shocked that they're not up for disciplinary action. I believe that based on that media report concerning TJ Holmes and what they plan to raise as a reason why they should not be kept off the air, is they're thinking of the Morning Joe situation. I believe they're referencing the Mika Brzezinski, who for her whole life has met her spouses through the workplace. Prior to Joe Scarborough, she was actually dating somebody who she was blessed with two beautiful daughters, James Patrick Hoffer, who's also a TV anchor. I'm glad that things worked out for them. They were referenced in the public when the scandal broke with TJ Holmes and Amy as it to being an unchallenged romance. Again, we're talking about 2017-ish. They got engaged and it was known. 2018, they got married based on photos that have been released. But also, Mika was divorced in 2016. So, is another TV anchor couple. However, they didn't waste time or wait for an internal investigation or to be yanked from the air. There was another Chicago TV love romance story, but it happened in 2019 in which one person moved. So a 25-year-old TV veteran known as Mike Dardis got engaged to his coworker and left in order for his lover, to pursue her career at the station that made it happen for the both of them. Racial discrimination lawsuits revolve around Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, or the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, that prohibits discrimination based on race, color, or national origin under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. So the purpose of Title VI is simply to ensure that public funds are not spent in a way that encourages, subsidizes, or results in discrimination on these bases. Toward the end of Title VI, it bars intentional discrimination. Racial discrimination can be proved in the following ways. A, direct evidence of a discriminatory motive and or proof of systemic or widespread discrimination pattern or practice. Permissible use of race and intentional discrimination by a third party is another way to show it. However, in this case, the moral clause of Good Morning America, GMA, I'll term it going forward, it's possible for GMA to provide evidence of non-discrimination reasons for its actions. The morality and conduct clause they have in their contract states some stuff that can be used against them. One, the contract demands employees, quote unquote, to act at all times with due regard to public morals and conventions. Two, also the clause includes that talent should not engage themselves in conduct which tends to bring you or us in a public dispute. Us means ABC, they're talking about themselves. Contempt, scandal, or ridicule, or which might reflect unfavorably upon us or injure the success of programs. Finally, the clause ends with this: we may terminate this agreement upon notice to within 30 days after we acquire knowledge thereof. So we have already seen what they've stated in their moral clause happen. Gayle King called it out on Watch What Happens Live. I love that. That used to be my favorite pastime story. I mean, pastime night show. And she called out the mess. And then who broke the story that people who didn't know who TJ Holmes or Amy Robach was or didn't watch the show? It was the Daily Mail. It was all over the Daily Mail. And then let me further put the nail in the coffin for these two. So based on the research I've done, ABC's been here before. It's not their first time. First time dealing with the mess. Okay. So first, let me start with this. There are a lot of common contracts in entertainment, sports, and other industries that have morality clauses. This is quite common, so I don't know who thought they found something new. It's not new. It's not new at all. It's quite common. So these clauses have been invoked in particular instances with the Weinstein Company and Harvey Weinstein when that scandal broke wide open and nothing he could have done could stop it as in the past. Netflix terminating Kevin Spacey, it was based on a moral clause. So I wish they would stop with these antics of using discrimination for your mess. Also, they need to refer to their own brethren, because I said ABC's been here before. So let's get into it. So ABC actually had a morality clause by which one of their colleagues lost in Nader versus ABC Television Inc. So Nader had a morality clause, Michael Nader, that included a morals clause that allowed ABC to terminate the contract if his conduct brought anything of quote-unquote public disrepute, contempt, scandal, or ridicule, or which might reflect unfavorably on ABC. Michael Nader, who was he? Okay, he was a character of a daytime drama produced by ABC known as All My Children. And I'm certain you've heard of it. Nader was suspended for selling cocaine because of the media coverage of his arrest. What happened with TJ Holmes and Amy Robach? It was suspected probably with people who were in the and in the no that they probably had a affair. It's rumored, it's alleged. Can't say that for sure. But how do we know? How does the public know? Well, the Daily Mail. I mean, they put us on, and then now we have other people chasing them, and it's confirmed. It's confirmed they have an affair. So he brought a lawsuit for various disability discrimination, I guess maybe because he probably had a substance abuse problem, I'm assuming, contract and tort claims against his former employer, ABC Television. After the network terminated his contract and refused to rehire him in the wake of his well-publicized arrest for selling cocaine to an undercover police officer, he challenged the decision. The court ruled in favor of ABC. They permitted ABC to terminate him based on a violation of the morals clause. He even went back and he appealed this decision. I like when they're like, I'm going to file appeal, and I'm going to get a fair decision. Oh, he got it real fair. All right. The appellate court supported the lower court, or what you would say the district court in this instance, decision. So racial discrimination in TV networks is very real, and there are tons of cases. In fact, last year, an Asian American woman who was a Southwest Florida TV anchor filed a discrimination lawsuit stating that the network had retaliated and sabotaged her career after raising concerns about racial discrimination. These cases are the cases that we need to shed light on. And for people, or really networks or supervisors who are creating this kind of harm, to be penalized. Even New York One, a network that I've enjoyed over the years with the deceased friends, may she rest in peace, and an acquaintance of mine actually worked as an anchor on the network. I can't even believe that they, not her, she still works there and does pop-up appearances. I can't believe that they were sued for age and gender discrimination, of which is supported by statistics. And like we said, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie, like that song says. And it's very factual here. So my acquaintance loved her experience there. And it's just sad that we have real stories. Then there's the Kelly Wright, who joined a lawsuit for racial discrimination. So I hate that there are many viable lawsuits in which people have had their careers uprooted by racial discrimination for this accusation to be launched, and they win off of people having fear. People have shed their bloods and died for people to exercise and bring a lawsuit, exercise that right and bring a lawsuit when they actually are discriminated against. And this is not discrimination. This is just a case of you spreading it wide and laying it low. And you just need to learn when, and I feel like this is so generational. People don't know that you are going to have to take some form of a loss. Like, there has to be consequences. This is not social promotion. Everyone doesn't win, and this is why everything is a mess. But this is not what we're here for. We're here to talk about the law. I'm here to break it down for you to understand exactly why he's wrong. And I hope the network lawyers or whoever's working on this case, that y'all nail them to the cross on this, because this is an L that you need to take. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an L. You know what's the right thing to do. So workplace romances can lead to sexual harassment lawsuits when things go left real quick. Because when a relationship ends, one person may not be happy. So then how does it get to a sexual harassment lawsuit? Well, they continue to make advances. You know, I love you. I miss you. You know, I don't want this to end. I need you. Come back. All right. So those are unwanted advances. And this is where we get into sexual harassment lawsuits after a workplace love affair. Number 2, retaliation claims. If it involves a superior and a subordinate, then the person can allude that they never wanted to do it in the first place. The person can be like, you know, I was intimidated. They were higher than me. They can play that whole power dynamic game. And I have this responsibility. I have that going on. And I felt if I did not, you know, go out with this person, that, you know, I was at risk of losing my job. 3, third-party lawsuits as a result of so-called favoritism that occurred that can lead to a hostile work environment. So we've seen these claims prior to COVID where people played favorites, whatever allegiance or alliance they had with certain co-workers or superiors had with a subordinate. And sometimes it can impact someone negatively, especially if one of them don't like you and they happen to have that connection with someone who calls the shots. So claims alleging third-party sexual favoritism arise when a supervisor engages in a romantic relationship with subordinates, causing other subordinates to believe they are professionally disadvantaged because they would not submit to coercive sexual demands of a supervisor. So now I want to talk about 2 cases so that it solidifies that I am saying stuff that has actually happened. So in 2004, a state trooper woman brought a lawsuit claiming that she had been the subject of retaliatory actions and a hostile work environment occurred because a supervisor and administrative assistant were having a office romance. And this sounds so commonplace. I mean, this sounds like real life. It sounds like a Lifetime movie plot. So the thing is, people often forget these real life facts. So in 2017, there was a case in which a man went to HR and claimed that two coworkers were engaged in an office romance, and that was the reason he did not get the incentives he was supposed to get, nor the promotion. He was supposed to get it. It belongs to me. So, yes, and we have people who talk like that, and they will honestly air that to your face in corporate legal world everywhere. So it was murky as to whether he got a severance package or HR put him on a leave of absence, but HR said they put him on a leave of absence, and that is very commonplace in the workplace when you report something of that nature to mitigate the damage against the company and also protect you. HR will remove you and out of that situation immediately so that there's no further harm, no more damage occurs. So he claims that he didn't resign. Like I said, they gave him a severance package. They conducted an investigation, and you know what? He lied. It was a lie, or he lied allegedly. It was none of it was true. He just had a good imagination or vivid imagination. So the court cited, he went ahead and sued. The court cited that an office romance and claims of favoritism are enough to use in a retaliation claim, and they permitted him to go ahead and move forward with the case in terms of the fact of it even being a rumored office romance. So, what about Robach? And yes, I'm going to give them that name, Robach. It's befitting. I think that it works well because it does. Okay. So, if TJ Holmes or Amy Robach isn't fired, the network can offer one of them an alternative role and keep the other person there, or to prevent any indications of harassment or retaliation claims, they can give the option that one resigns and the other remains instead of firing them. However, I feel like claims of racial discrimination was bought in blood, and it should not be used for somebody just trying to sexually gratify themselves for something that may not even last. That is not what people died and fought for. And for people who need to actually utilize those claims, for someone to just use it and pull out the race card just because. No, I think you need to come to some kind of resolution, something that you can live with and that you don't could kill your career. So if you haven't gotten a chance, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. If there's anything you want me to discuss, put it in the comment box. Thank you for watching my video. Until next time, bye.